So with that, we'll get started. It's time of the meeting is 7:05. I'll take a motion to accept the secretary's report.
Moved.
Laura, second.
Second.
Amy, okay. Discussion.
Yes, I think the section of that showed up under budget on committee reports, actually those comments were made about the budget as it was reported, the monthly staff reports, those 3 lines. Because there was nothing that came from committee reports on budget last meeting.
Where is that, Cindy? Sorry.
So it was, there were a couple of things about the budget discussion, but those were actually out of the staff reports. That was not made during the committee reports budget time.
Oh, I see. So the 3 items under committee reports budget.
Actually belong up under staff reports discussion.
Okay.
Because there was no committee report from budget last month.
Does it matter where I put it within that section?
It simply is inaccurate. I mean, there was no budget committee report.
No, I think she's asking where should she put it in the staff
Oh,
report. It doesn't
no.
matter. Yeah.
No,
Doesn't matter. Okay,
not at all.
so I'll move those.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Anything else from anybody? Okay, seeing no further discussion. All those in favor say aye. We'll do roll call vote. Amy,
Aye.
anyone opposed say no or opposed. Jeff,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, no objections. Motion to accept the monthly staff reports.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Cindy, discussion.
I have a question about the projector. Catherine, do we have a cost estimate on that?
We don't, do we, Jackie?
No, we have 3 consultations next week.
Do you even know, like, just ballpark how much, is this like a $1,000 thing or like a $40,000 thing?
I think it can be anything you want. They asked me to give a range, and I said, and he said, you know, it is. What's your ceiling? Is it 75,000? And I said, no.
You said definitely that's a ceiling.
Yeah. So,
But
Lower.
Noble did just get one, which is what made part of what made me think of it. And other people then said, do you know the existing thing we have doesn't work for the people who use it and all of this. They are spending between 12 and 13,000 for theirs. So I don't know that ours will be in that, you know, it depends on your existing equipment and what you actually decide you want. And
But it's significant. It's not an insignificant amount of money. It's not like you just go to Best Buy and buy a projector.
No,
Okay.
no, it's not a project. And that's part of what the issue is. The reason that Noble got a new one is because theirs will now incorporate Zoom and in person on a screen. So everybody can be together at the same time. And if that's something that we wanted to do, you know, say next January, I don't know exactly what that costs, but those are the kind of functions we're looking at to see what's available and might be useful. It was also noted to me that somebody came and had photographs and our projector didn't do them justice. So it was kind of a disappointing presentation because it was about the photography and it wasn't that good.
Mhm. Well, it looks like you under state aid later on, I think there was a note off to the side that said projector.
I put it as state aid, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a ballpark of like how long the current projector has been in there? Is it?
June 29th, 2010.
Okay.
The only
Yeah,
thing we can
it's-
find is the invoice.
I thought it was only a few years old, and somebody said, oh no, that's been there for a long time.
And then just in the same section, switching over water fountains to the bottle fillers, is that, I know the gym where I go did that and made note that it was a expensive process.
Who said it was expensive?
The YMCA, because they had to switch over all their water fountains too, to the bottle filler ones.
Oh, I don't know I don't have a cost estimate yet.
Okay.
We're still looking at the equipment. Several other libraries have them and some are better than others. If it was really pricey, I could just get one. You know, as long as there's one in the building, but I think it's nice to have water for people, and you don't necessarily, you're not going to want them with their face next to those. And ours don't even go up very high.
Yeah.
So it really has to.
You have one for the staff, Catherine? Is there one? No.
No,
Is there a water fountain in the back there? No, on the second floor or the first floor?
not in the back. No.
Do we
No,
have water?
they were all in public places. When that new building was designed, that was part of the idea, I think, that things would, you know, the restrooms would be both public and staff. And the
Mhm.
idea is that the staff is using it, you know what condition it's in, you know how it works, you know what the patron experience is because you're using it too. So the difference is the staff room and the staff refrigerator, but everything else is, we're sharing.
Where would that come out of the budget if you had to pay for it this term? This will be next fiscal year, but where in the budget would that come out of?
For the
The water fountain upgrade?
for the water fountain thing, it depends on how much it is.
Yeah.
And it depends on how much money we have left. That's something that I could probably just throw in here now, that just came up today. We have a water leak. So I thought I had maybe a few $1,000s more than I'm ultimately going to have because it's a significant leak of water. So we're really just going to have to find that. We have had some repairs done, but I spoke with Dave today and he said it doesn't seem like, he said the amount of water is just so extensive that it could be something else. So we're tracking the meter and we've talked to DPW. This happened once before. I don't know if any of you remember that and it turned out it was an outside faucet that was leaking underground.
Mhm.
And it had been going on for months. So we'll see what happens with this, but to the point of the budget, if I had money in the operating budget, that's what I would use, of course. You use that first. And then there's state aid. I could do
Okay.
that.
The leak though, is that interior or exterior?
We don't know. We
Don't
think
know.
we're hoping that it's interior and we caught it. But the amount is a little bit larger than what Dave thinks would. We've had 2 toilets replaced and 2 faucets.
Hmm.
The faucets are automatic, like you push it down. You do have to touch it to push it down, but then it shuts off by itself. But it runs for a very long time. And there was one that was not shutting off. So Dave had it replaced. I don't know, because there haven't been people in the building, we're not really sure how these things are getting caught, you know? Like what the time period, how long it's happening before it's been caught. So, but when I talked to Dave today, he said those 4 items that he had fixed, it doesn't seem like those 4 things would have created this much loss of water. So he's continuing to look at what it could possibly be. And we're tracking the meter, like I said.
So the big leak wasn't found because there's extensive damage that was found. It was because there's extensive usage that was found.
Yeah, it's because we got a bill that was
Okay.
just crazy. It was so much higher, and it's not just the dollar amount, but you're looking at the use. So when that's significantly more, and under these circumstances, it should be significantly less because there's not constant flushing all day. And it's not, so something's
So
wrong.
a significantly higher bill than typical 100% operating capacity.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Do you have
well,
a forensic plumber?
pardon me?
Do you have a forensic plumber?
That's all we need. I know.
Catherine, this wasn't in your report, but I've noticed in the weekly emails, the general weekly email that goes out, you've been adding a little note at the beginning.
Mhm.
I just wanted to like thank you for that. I think it's been a good way to give folks some context as to where things are, and it, you know, those emails are really helpful anyways. But I just kind of placing it in that like.
Yeah. Part of the idea behind that too was to see if it would encourage more people to read that email. For a long time, it has just had programming in it. So if you don't do programming, you after a couple of weeks, you're not going to open it because you're gonna think this is just the programs, and I don't go to programs. So it should have something else in it, I think, to encourage people to check, because it's a really good, it goes to over 4,000 people. But if they don't open it, you're not getting your message out.
Can you see an open rate?
Yeah, Jackie checks it.
It vacillates between 22 and 24%.
Okay.
Something makes me think it used to be higher. It's getting a little lower.
It's always been,
People's inboxes are getting more full too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been as high as like 26% before, but it's usually right around there,
Yeah.
which is pretty much the industry standard.
That's a good number. Sounds good.
So we were looking at that in terms of social media too, because Facebook is very frustrating to me because it works by an algorithm. So you send out a message, but you don't know who's going to get that. And I only have so many people I can check on, but my sister's a real Facebook user. So I called her and she said, oh, I get all the BB library stuff. So I started asking her questions, and it turns out she gets all the children's stuff. She doesn't get any adult posts. So, and that's weird to me because she doesn't have small children.
Yeah.
So once I started thinking about that, we started looking at what can we do to shake it up to maybe change the algorithm a little bit. So that led us to, let's try some other things with the newsletter too.
How is the page by page assessment of the website going? It sounded painful to read it. I can't imagine doing it.
Process. We are done with everything on our end. We're waiting
Okay.
for one last thing from the developer, and then it will get moved over to Noble's server, and then theoretically could be live like within a few days. There's a couple plugins and some functionality that won't work on the development server. It has to be transferred to Noble's, so we have to make sure all that works first, but we're so close.
I know.
All
I
right, well, we'll
know.
cross our fingers. And
Not
will
a
they do?
small undertaking.
I know. It was
Yeah,
big.
that
Yeah.
was-
Well, will there be any? So have you guys done testing on it to make sure all the user acceptance training? Yeah.
Mhm.
Testing, I should say. Yeah. UAT.
We had the whole staff go over it, and they had quite a lengthy list of things for me to fix and check and move and correct. And we did our 508 compliance and
Oh, good. Okay.
and
Great. So, cross your fingers.
Any day now.
Any predictions? You want to give us a date?
It would have been nice to have had it during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, it really
Mhm.
would have been like a third place, another location where we could have sent people, but I don't know. As long as we get something good in the end, I guess that's what's important.
Yeah.
And Jackie doesn't quit before we get it done. It's been a little frustrating.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, discussion?
I had a question about the it's under Jeff's section about the request for Native American material. And I assume most people are aware of the school committee meeting last night and all that. And I had a message from someone just an hour ago linking me to a Native American library site that offered a list of books. And I was wondering if you guys had considered doing, you know, assuming we're going to reopen probably sooner rather than later, and there seems to be such interest, could we look at doing like a lobby display or something? Not necessarily, it sounds like Jeff said the history in Wakefield is lacking as far as materials go, but maybe just at least some sort of honoring,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
you know,
So-
educational something or other.
Yeah, there's not every librarian lives in Wakefield, so I send the information, and everybody's aware that it's a hot button issue right now, and something that really requires understanding and information. So yeah, if we were in the building, there probably would be a display of. I don't know if they have planned to put something in their newsletter, the youth room, or
Mhm.
what they've done, but yeah, we would like to be doing something around that.
Okay. Or even like programming. I mean, I don't know, like news and views. I know obviously you have a moderator, so that maybe would help facilitate some discussions on hot topics or
Yeah.
you know,
They have so many topics, they haven't had room for it. I go to those meetings and they're pretty, you know, they try to keep it to 3 or 4 topics. But that is a good one.
Catherine, are you able to expand at all on the, we had talked at the last meeting about or you sent an email about some potential outdoor programming, but there was pushback from the town. Is that, I'm guessing they're just extra safety precautions they want to take, but it sounds like that's something that when we get the green light can just happen, or?
Well, I think what happens is every day is different. Every day has a different, the numbers are different. You're green, you're red, you're yellow. How are things trending? The trends are different. And I think at the time that the staff put together the idea of having the thing on the plaza, it was not a good time to do that. So they didn't out and out say, don't do it. They consulted, with one another, they looked into whether, they thought about what could be the ramifications. And then just decided this is not a good idea right now. Why don't you put this off and in a month, come back to us in a month. Now it does seem like people are very anxious now, and things are a little different. People are really looking for everything to open up. They just want everything to open up. And we've all been doing this for a year, and people are getting vaccinated, and everybody just wants it to open up. So with every week, I think we're going to have different responses and different metrics to look at as to whether or not we can do certain things. I do have an appointment to meet with Ruth Clay, who is the director of the health department. She's meeting in Melrose, at Melrose Public Library. And their library is very similar to ours. They have the same problems we have. So we're all going to meet together and see what Ruth comes up with, so that we can kind of do things in a similar manner, because we share a lot of the same patrons. So I think when people see the same thing happening at different places, it makes it a little bit easier. So wherever we can coordinate, I think we'll try to do that. And she might be able to help us look at dates too, as to what dates are actually reasonable.
Not sure if the elementary school's going to go back on April 5th full
Yes,
time.
they are.
So I was wondering if there was going to be some discussion of, the library around the same time. That's what I was wondering. If there was any connection between those dates, because they are, starting with the schools.
Or does it make sense to wait a couple weeks and see how it goes for the schools?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel people are going to ask for that because when the schools are open, so.
Yeah.
If there's some guidance we can get, from the Board of Health and or, the town, where's our comfort zone with following some of the guidelines we're gonna get laid out for us. I mean,
Right.
we should,
So-
it shouldn't be up to us to forge the path. Someone else should tell us, this is how we can do that. This, and then, that's what the Board of Health is for in this day and age, I would guess.
Right. And I think that that's part of the reason that Ruth wants to actually be in the building and go through it with us, is because she really then gets to understand what what the circumstances are for that individual organization, the challenges that organization faces. Because the public can say, the supermarkets are open, the schools are open, all of it, churches are open. None of those correspond to a library at all, And so as soon as you have to be able to imagine what's going to happen when you do something. So when we open the doors, if we do it by appointment, when people come in, what happens when they walk through the doors, and what kind of service can they get? I do think that people are so anxious to open that it's at this point, because we're so far into vaccinations, that it's worth sacrificing the circulation at this point. We won't have as high circulation because we won't be able to do two things at once. But I would like to try to still have a day a week where you can get side door service, because there are still going to be people who are not going to come in. They're going to be, I talk to these people all the time. They're not the assertive people, but they're there, and I get some lovely notes from them that they like this, the safety is the most important thing to them, and that they get their book and they get it safely. So I think what you're saying, Chris, is absolutely right. I think Ruth can help us get there. She can say, at this point, we know that this is, a safe bet. I think we also have to consider from my perspective, what I consider is that, people think about going into places, but I have to think about the staff that's there for 8 hours. So if you go into a place and you have no touch, and you can do all these things and you can do it quickly and get out, that's different from somebody who might have to stand in the same place for 2 hours and be in the building for 8 hours. And it could be perfectly safe, but we want to make sure that we've done that. Dave has checked on the HVAC filters, and we're doing what we can to get all the ducks in a row so that it is safe. But I think Chris is right.
There's also conversations circling around what the definition of open actually is.
Yeah, that makes me sad a little bit.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that makes me
what
sad.
does open actually mean? And is there a way to be open and keep everybody safe? Is there a way to be open and have it be 2 hours Tuesday every other month? I mean,
Yeah,
what's someone's definition of open?
I know. It is. It's almost like if you allow some people in for a certain amount of time, they consider that open, despite the fact that given the standards, it's going to be very few people.
Right.
So I could save face by saying, oh, we're open. And then when you look at the numbers, you realize you served 20 people this week, and the people who were closed, served
Served 1,200.
220.
No, there's
So-
there's an element of be careful what you wish for.
I know.
Were librarians included with teachers? I know last month you mentioned that there was hope that they would be possibly. No.
No. But I'm not sure that it's going to matter that much because they're opening it to more and more people. So now it's open to anybody over 60. And my husband and I are frantically trying to get an appointment before it's opened to the general public. Because once it's open to the general public, I mean, that's going to be a free for all. So
I think there's quite a few people now that are in the loop that are, eligible.
yeah.
Still from the other groups.
My husband got a message that he could sign up at Melrose Wakefield. And by the time he clicked his phone to get there, they were all gone.
I actually got one of those.
Did you? I'll tell him we have a winner.
And I mean, there was so much to fill out that it was unbelievable. You picked
Yeah.
an appointment and it was at 10. By the time I got one, it was the following day at 1, but I do have them at 1 on Friday. And then they were gone. I would say in 3 minutes, they were gone.
Did you notice the date of birth pulled up a calendar? It wouldn't let him put in the number manually.
Yes.
So it was 2021 and he had to go back 60 years.
Exactly. Yes.
So no wonder they were all gone by the time you get in there.
There were a lot of tough questions. So, that's all I'm going to say. There were a lot of tough questions and it took a long time to fill out the form. But I feel fortunate that I was successful.
Yeah. So we're almost there. We're almost there. I know people are anxious. Cindy,
Question for Catherine. We talked about this last month and we talked about having, being open for patron traffic certain days, open for side door service other days. And I'm actually texting with Paul Gordon right now, who's on the line. You're not seeing his face.
I see PG. There he is. Hi, Paul.
Yes, that's Paul Gordon. So he had asked me that same question because he wasn't at last month's discussion. He asked about, doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday in person, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday in side door service. Is that something you'll be discussing with Ruth?
Tangentially, not really.
Do you know if Melrose is thinking about it?
Melrose has that's probably who I'll talk to about it. Melrose
Okay.
has the same problem we do. You can't do two things in one space.
Right, there was kind of small entrance and all.
Yeah, so we're going to have to figure out how it's going to be possible to keep doing a day of side door service. But I think we're going to have to just have one day of that. I don't think we're going to be able to jump between days. I think we're going to have to.
Because if there's some of the books that people are picking up are books that have come in through interlibrary loan, you only have so much time to hand them out before they're due back, don't you? Really? I mean, if the book comes in on Tuesday and the next side door service day is the following Monday.
It's 7 days. You have 7 days to pick it up.
So they would have to pick it up that following Monday or they totally lose the book. Whereas now, if you fail to pick it up on your scheduled day, you can reschedule for a day or two later. But it sounds like if you only have one side door service day a week, you could be really screwed by the system if you're not eligible to pick up that day.
How much of that, we'll have to figure out how much of that system is flexible on our part.
And
It's,
how much comes
it
in
all
that
is.
way?
It
It
all,
all is. Yeah. We have
Okay,
to manually cancel those holds, so.
okay. See, I don't know enough about Evergreen. I can check my own stuff out.
okay.
Yeah, so if we can manipulate things, we will to make, because that shouldn't be the hard, I don't want that to be the hard part that blocks us up.
It just seems like one day of side door service a week is not very much, that two might be preferable. But I don't know how much, I mean, it's being heavily used now. But I know people who are in my Bible study at church who have said if we reopen, they're still not coming back in because of their age and their health status.
I know.
So I imagine that's the kind of people you're referring to who still wouldn't be coming back in. And how much of that, do we need to serve, and therefore is one day a week enough?
Yeah,
Just asking.
I know. So that's one of the things that's on the table, because
Okay.
it's whether or not it becomes possible to do more. And it's also how the dynamics will change once people are in the building. If people come in and check out on their own, it reduces the number of side door service to begin with.
Right.
So then then what you're talking about is the number of people who need to pick up and whether or not they can do it on certain days or how you arrange that. The other factor is where you're storing the stuff. So it depends on, I mean, that's the biggest problem we have now, is that there's no, it has to be on the main floor.
Oh, sure.
So if we let people in the building, we're gonna have to have that stuff stored where, like the lecture hall, or, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna work. So however that's gonna work, it's gonna have to be an amount that we can manage.
Catherine, do you have a feel, or Jacqueline, do you have a feel for what people are most missing without getting in the building? Is there anything in particular you're hearing that's absent from, the side door service that people are looking for?
I'm the people who want to get in the building, for the most part, I'm hearing that third hand. The people who are talking to me directly are asking what the plans are and why they are, and they're perfectly happy. People who are not happy are calling town hall. Maybe they're talking to you, I don't know. But they're not coming directly to me. I've had maybe two people who were initially angry and usually the sentence starts out with, I don't know why you can't just.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get that, I know I got this one because I've got an answer. This one's going to have an answer. Because it's not a just, and it's so unapparent from outside the building. You can't possibly see how it's actually more complicated. So when I talk to people, I really have good luck, and they get it, and they, and I'm able, when I talk to people, I'm able to say, what else would make you happy? What else would solve your problem? Is there something else we can give you that doesn't take away from everyone else? Because there are people who, this is working for them.
Right.
But there are other people who, and they've only been a few. I had one recently that just, really wants us to open. And sometimes it's me. I think there's a misperception that the library director is in this ivory tower making this decision about we're just all going to be closed, and like I don't know what, the staff is all in there having a party or something.
Well, it goes back to my earlier point about direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Health direction, some guidelines.
Right.
And I think, walking Ruth through the building is a big step forward, because people who are, clamoring for, you just open. Well, why can't you open? Need to understand the logistics and the services that get derailed as you quote just open.
Right.
So, when I try and talk about logistics, people don't want to hear it. But I think, when you get someone like Ruth or anyone from town officials to understand what the logistics are and give us some guidance and a path forward, and I think we're willing to listen.
Yeah. Ruth has been there all along. She's been very good. And Tom Walsh has been really great too. And they sort of have us prepared. But they, I don't know. They're probably not getting the phone calls. I don't think they're the ones who get the phone calls. So I think part of it is the message, that the message just doesn't get out. And the people who don't get the message, they don't get the newsletter. They don't look at the website. There's only so many places you can get it, and they're not really connected to those places where they would get the message. So
I want to get Paul had a question. So Paul, sorry, we hadn't gotten to you yet. So you had a question.
Sorry, I have my kid tonight, so that's
all right. No problem.
Doing, but I'm Paul Gordon. Anyways, I know I'm new. I know I got trying to catch up, but I guess the question was going to be like, is there any way that we could poll like people? I know that there's some issues with the newsletter, it sounds like, or do like certain hours where you could do that so you can get like the best of both worlds. And like I was texting Cindy, I know maybe the day thing doesn't work, but if you guys could be open, a certain part of the day and try and factor in what programs need to be more in person, and then where you can still have the door service for, safety and COVID mitigation, and then kind of get the best of both worlds for all, if that's an option or like something to think about, and see what people really want and what times they want it, and then kind of adjust the plan of action after, after we get that data.
yeah, data is always difficult because you don't necessarily get the response that you need. So that can kind of be, it can sometimes be helpful, but then sometimes less so. I think the problem that we're experiencing now is that our options are limited by what it takes to provide a service. So when people say, let's be open certain days and it's not so much just a scheduling issue. We don't have space. There isn't a warehouse and a room where the action happens. It's all one big room. So if the staff has to be within 6 feet of one another, and they're working in an environment where everybody used to stand next to one another and share the same equipment, all of that becomes, needs to be reconfigured, and you have to find another way to do it. And it takes up so much space that if you're going to do that, you can't vary from day to day. You can't change that every day. You kind of have to pick a path and stick with it. You can probably put some things in there like occasional days. So I think that's what we would be looking at. If we're going to do side door service on 1 day a week, what's the best day? Is it Saturday morning or is it an evening? Or do you pick a Saturday morning and an evening? Is it the number of side door service items, or is it the dates that is the problem? I'm not sure. And part of it gets into the configuration of the building. We only have one entrance that's handicapped accessible. If that's where people are going to pick up their curbside items, people can't get in the building at the same time. So there are all these little factors, and that's sort of what.
The other thing I'm wondering, Catherine, is when, we're talking about what's open mean, like we're really just talking about circulation, getting materials. And, when you look at the library and morning, noon, and night, it's so much more. That's a lot of work, but that's only one thing. I think there's people that want to get back in for computers, and I think that's just like out of, or just to, like not realizing that there'll probably be a time limit that you can be in there, not just browse and socialize and sit and, the kinds of things that the library is designed for. So open, just getting materials, I think it's very fortunate the way you're doing it and doing a great job. These other things, add another layer of complication that I don't know how or when they would happen. So if that's what they're looking for, like to drop their kids off to go in and study, like happens a lot of evenings, that's, you know, that's like, it boggles my mind to try to think about it, is what I'm gonna say. So I'm thinking just circulation, there's so many, there's so much more to be considered in a real, true, complete opening that I don't think people think of that. They're just used to going to the library, doing what they need or what they want. And it's gonna be a while before that happens. Am I right?
Keep thinking of the train table. Like that's not,
Yeah, right, right.
I know, the train table. And how many people will be disappointed when they come in and find out that they're not going to be able, you know, every other chair is blocked off. There won't be as many computers available. That's my thing, was doing that noise. So yeah, what open means to different people is different too. So I think there would be people who are disappointed that they wouldn't be able to do what they wanted to do.
Is there a viability in, you know, here's a section of the building that's open for computer use or studying, and, you know, you start segmenting the building into areas that are open?
It sort of is naturally segmented because
So
computers have
can we take advantage of that?
probably, yeah,
I
probably.
think that's part of the path, is how you take advantage of some of those, you know, segments and sections.
And just real,
I'm sorry, we're open, but you're allowed to go here and here.
That the only problem with that is then you bump into restrooms,
Yeah, okay.
and they're not located near a lot of those spaces. And
Yeah,
I
I forgot about that.
like if you were just gonna say we want to have the red room is open for studying and the gold room is open for computers use on laptops, they still have to walk all the way through
Yeah.
whole side door setup and all the staff setup to get to a restroom. So it's
There's no easy answer.
it would be very interesting.
Yeah, it is
Possible.
interesting. Yeah, a lot of people need computer help too, and that's interesting because you have to have distance. And they have remote computer help, but the people who need computer help often can't figure out how to do the remote thing. So that just frustrates everyone. Yeah, there's a lot, it's, you know, it's not simple. It's not insurmountable. So we'll get some advice. We'll see where things are at. And, you know, I'm going to take my wins wherever I can find them. No one is sick. No one at BB is sick. And I haven't heard anything that it's originated near us. So, you know, there's one success. And we'll just move on to the next one. We'll try the next one.
ma'am, do you guys break down the data for like your February totals? Do you break that down any more specifically for, like, you know, circulations? Like, do you do them by, or like checkouts, do you do them by time or anything like that? Or is it just total?
We can.
We can. We tend to aggregate it the way that the state ultimately wants it. So I have looked at the numbers by hour before because we've had to cut hours, or, you know, we usually go to that when we actually have to do something with it. We don't do that routinely.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking, because after Mr. Barrow was talking, I was like, maybe an option would be looking at the times where like certain services are most used, and then maybe adjusting the open versus the remote service around that time by limiting the personnel that you know, with your restrictions that you were stating earlier.
Right. Under regular circumstances, that is the very first thing I would do. That's a real, for those of you who remember Sharon, that's a real Sharon thing. She was the prior director, and boy, did she know how to work a number. She kept all those statistics. The problem now is that all of the statistics from 2020 are meaningless. and even what you have that's, no one was coming in the building when they were taking items. There's no correlation to anything that works. And we have found too that within every few years, the population changes slightly. So you think you know what everybody really likes, and then that sort of changes. I think the one thing that's been consistent for the 20 years I've been there is that May is really slow. People don't go to the library in May. So if we ever have to do some work in the building or anything, we try to hit May, because that consistently, I think it's springtime, people go out. There's lots of
Awesome.
events happening, graduations.
in the end of August,
Yeah, end of August, but not like May.
right?
Yeah, end of August, too, that's true.
All right, we're still on the
Question?
monthly staff reports.
Yeah, another question, but
Yep.
different question from monthly staff. Looking at the reports, especially from the reference department and the children's department, and then looking at the operating budget status. When I was reading through the staff reports, and I saw how much various staff were doing in continuing education and other programs that they were learning from, as opposed to that they were giving. It occurred to me, gee, I wonder if we're paying any tuition toward this. And then I went to the budget status report, and I saw under tuitions, we have expended out about a third of our tuition money. Is
Mhm.
any of that going towards the professional continuing education of our staff? Because I don't recall having paid for any MLS tuition bills yet.
No, it wasn't anything like that.
Okay.
I think part of what comes out of that is memberships to like ALA and stuff like that.
All right.
And some of these courses, will be like $45.
Right.
And so many people can take it, and you get so it's that kind of thing. Yeah, but there hasn't been anything that's been a tuition bill. That wouldn't.
Because we
probably-
always have to vote on those.
You would have to vote on that, and you would have to vote on where you wanted to take it from, because that can come either from a trust fund, or if there's
Right.
in the budget, it can come
Right.
from either place. So, yeah,
Okay.
and they have to file for that before they finish the course.
Mhm.
So that's something, I think we have one person eligible for that. She knows about it, but she's never applied.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, anything else on the monthly staff reports? Any further discussion? No, okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of accepting the staff reports say aye. Those opposed say no. Roll call vote. Amy,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Cindy,
Hi.
Laura.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Fades service plan updates. I assume that our discussion just now covered
Qualifies.
that, or if there's anything further, do you want to add to that, Catherine, or is that all you have to say? Or
Yeah, I don't think there's anything further. Well, maybe there is. So if I meet with Ruth next, when's your next meeting? If I
28th.
if I wanted to open the building prior to the next trustees meeting, would you want to hold a meeting prior to opening? Or would you just want to authorize me to make a decision?
Need to hear what Ruth's recommendations are. I mean,
I think we'd have a quick meeting,
hear
a
it.
special meeting. Yeah, we'd have a quick
Yeah,
meeting. I would-
so,
but-
so if we were gonna open prior to the April meeting, we would call a meeting.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need so much to give the authority, more so just to have the heads up.
Right.
So that when people are asking questions or whatever, we can know what we're talking about.
And we also have the definition of open.
I know. Because who
Let's start the
knows what
meeting
that will.
early. That's gonna take a while.
Okay.
All right. Okay, anything further, Catherine? on
That's
the
it.
Opening, okay. Public participation, I just want to acknowledge Scott's here too, as well as Paul. If you all want to say hi or introduce yourselves, you're more than welcome to do that now. Scott, if you want to go.
Sure. My name's Scott Stady. Running for library trustee. This is my first time attending one of the meetings, so just here to listen and learn, and nice to be here. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And I'm Paul. I'm also running. Nice to meet you guys, and hope to be working with you guys soon.
Great. Thank you.
And you had a little person with you.
Yeah, it's about to be his bedtime, so that's why I'm in and out trying to shut off the camera, trying to listen. I have my Bluetooth in so I can listen to the meeting and multitask. It seems to be how parenting goes.
Word. Okay, correspondence. I saw there was one letter and one email in the packet.
Yes.
So folks can take a look at those. Committee reports, anything other than what you've talked about in budget that we need to talk about?
No.
Okay. Building and grounds, other than the leak that can't be found currently,
Yeah.
is there anything else?
Tim had asked me to look up the roofing information,
Oh, yeah.
and one section of the roof was done in 1990. And then the other section was 1998 during the renovation. So I found the information on that, and people are going to want to look at it, but we've got it. So that's
Okay,
good
great.
to know.
Yep. Okay. Friends, is that, who's that? Cindy?
Friends, that was me.
Yeah.
They reported that the membership, just the highlights, membership is doing as well as last year at this time. They have a new person on board to help with Twitter. In case any of you know, her name is Jamie Hale. Their newsletter, if you are a member, you should be seeing the newsletter coming out about April 15th. And they had no more edits on the memorandum of understanding at their meeting last month. Otherwise, nothing particularly momentous happened.
Okay.
Well-attended meeting. They had a dozen people.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Susan. April 1st is the meeting for Friends. If you can't make it, Mr. Barrett is the alternate.
Hope you can make it.
Oh, that's next week.
It is next week. Right. Okay, gift funds, anything to report other than what's in the reports?
Nothing on the report
Okay.
piqued a question for me. Did you have anything to point out, Catherine?
About trust funds?
Right.
No, but Kevin did mention to me, and this was in my calendar, that with the election coming up, we'll be taking care of signatures and readjusting people who are on different accounts. And we lost our savings bank checking account due to non-use. And I've put off replacing it. Number one, because we haven't really needed it. But number two is because it will probably need new signatories. Yeah.
And they generally have done an annual review with the board. So I imagine that would probably be coming up. I don't recall doing that last year during all of our Zoom meetings.
We didn't.
So sometime after the new board is assembled would probably be a good time to do that again.
Yeah, he usually will come May or June. He will come whenever we choose. But
Right.
in prior times, it's been May or June, I think, that the board has wanted to hear it. So yeah, that will be a good review.
So Kevin and I will be off. We were original gift fund committee people, so that'd be definitely up to you to be scheduling.
Yeah.
That meeting. Okay, thank you.
Legislative advocacy.
Hey, that's me again.
You again.
Couple things for the calendar. In your emails today, I forwarded out something that had come to me last week from the library discussion list, and that's about Library Legislative Day. And then I sent out an update to that within half an hour. I clarified for those of you who are really on the ball and know the difference between Library Legislative Day and library breakfasts. I made it clear that I do too, because I kind of rolled them all together because there's really only one event for us here in Eastern Mass this year. The Western libraries had a legislative breakfast, but the rest of us did not. That's where you actually go and you would have the chance to hobnob and actually have a donut or muffin or whatever the hosting library would provide. And you would hear about the Massboro Library Commissioner's agenda for the year and their budget and why it was important to you and your individual library. And you'd hear stories about how it made a difference to people in that particular library who was hosting it, because they would have individuals stand up and speak. And they were always very helpful because there are people in different parts of the state who have different stories than our citizens have. And so it really brought the different parts of the budget, made them come alive to you and made you understand why something would be important. For instance, what affects the Perkins Library, and the fact that we do have people in our community who are affected by materials for the blind, but it's not, you don't have to be totally blind to be benefiting from that. Now for us, there's just this one event this year. The Legislative Day is what's held down on the hill, on Beacon Hill, and that's being held about the same date as it normally does. It's usually happens in early April, and this year it is on April the 8th. It's happening in 4 different sessions. If April the 8th at 10 a.m. doesn't work for you, but you'd like to be part of this, you can sign up for one of the other sessions, which is, I believe it's like 6th, 7th, and 8th, but the email gives all those exact dates and times. So you can pick another date and time that might fit into your calendar better. Obviously, April 27th is town elections. I come off the board. Your next meeting is April 28th. So this is my last meeting unless Catherine has one about opening. And I just realized that minutes ago when I looked on the agenda and I saw that our next meeting was April 28th, and I knew that the elections were April 27th. Usually the outgoing trustees have a meeting in April, and then we miss the meeting in May. That's the first time we're off. But it's so far it's scheduled differently this month. And then May 11th is town meeting where you all would show up to support the budget that's being voted on by your peers here in Wakefield. And that is my legislative report.
Your last one.
My last one.
Maybe.
In terms
You do that justice like you do.
Maybe your last.
I still send those emails.
You just need the passion.
one.
how does that, like logistically, how does that work? Because if the election's the 27th,
Then people go into town hall the next day
It's sworn
and
in.
do their pledge at the town clerk's office. And that way they can go to the meeting at night.
But you can't sit as a voting member unless you've been sworn, I don't think.
Sworn in and signed the
doesn't
book.
really give people a whole lot of time. I mean, like,
No, it doesn't.
Someone's
Usually you
working
have
that
more than a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
yeah, I don't know if we need to think about that meeting date or something, because that, I think we could end up in a position where we,
It was
Whatever.
probably set because of school vacation,
School
I'm
vacation,
guessing.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well,
And we can have it,
we had changed them all to the 4th Wednesday.
If you're reelected, do you have to go sign again? Just
Yes.
throwing it out there in
Yes,
case
because your
anybody
term
wants
ends.
a Reelection.
yeah, you have to get sworn in again.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
So that's
an appointment on my calendar that day. With hopes.
Yeah, you can either move the meeting ahead or
Back.
forward if you wanted to, back or forward. If you wanted to get more time
have
to
another
get sworn
meeting,
in,
Cindy.
it's up to you guys.
Yeah, we could either move the meeting or So whoever comes can't vote unless they're
can't vote.
sworn in.
This
We
is
could prob-
Well,
we could
that would
probably-
be the meeting we do we do the officers and all that too. So
Right.
we'd want a full
No,
house.
we do that at May. We do that at the May meeting.
Well,
Because,
normally, but
normally
we do it the first meeting after the election, right?
which has always been in May
Right, but it
for
wouldn't be
25
this.
years.
Yeah.
So is there a consensus whether we push the meeting forward and make Cindy go to another one? Or do we bump it back a week? And give us time to kind of talk and get settled?
Well, how likely is it that you're gonna want a meeting for opening? Catherine? Maybe push it to earlier in April for that reason and, no?
How early would you open?
That would, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, you can schedule a meet, if you want to schedule a monthly meeting now, and if we have an opening meeting, we can always cancel the later one. You know, I mean, we can take care of business ahead of time if you want to. It's
Yeah,
up to you.
I think, you know,
Time before for the town though? Do we have to, what's the time frame for posting?
48 hours.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good.
Or 72, was it
Posting
72?
with the town,
Yeah, what do you guys do? Is it
I
72
think
hours
it's
or
72,
72
Yeah.
hours?
but it's still, we could have plenty of time.
So the week before spring break,
So
I'll
that's-
be in Fort Lauderdale, geez.
right? You and everybody else.
So move it to May 5th.
Are you saying skip having an April meeting?
Yeah.
Mayo?
Oh. Every day's a holiday, isn't it?
I mean,
When it's my 7-year-old.
We could
That's what
go,
everybody thinks when you're closed. Every day is a holiday in there at the BB.
we could go to May 12th and just
Ooh.
have that be the May meeting. Skip April and have a May meeting, but earlier.
Well, yeah,
April and May meeting.
I think there's a high probability we're gonna have a meeting about opening.
In
yeah,
April?
should we just plant it? Yeah. Could we do April 14th or something like, I'm a little worried about not having an April meeting at this time when like the schools are reopening and we're
I agree.
gonna be looking for an update.
Yeah,
The 14th.
the 14th looks good.
It's no longer the day before taxes are due.
Right, and that would, so that if you did it on the 14th, that would replace the 28th, right?
Correct.
You want to do a vote on that, Kevin, or is everybody just going to say,
Hold on
let's
one second,
do
let me
it.
just quick look here.
Kevin thought he was done after tonight, so
I don't know, you guys are throwing me off here.
He didn't
14th.
realize he was done till 5 minutes ago.
No, I knew actually. I looked actually. See, I
Oh.
did look because I thought it was pretty close. I thought it was pretty tight actually.
You were keeping it quiet.
Yeah, to the very end. 14th is fine.
I know I brought up the 14th. I just said that out of the blue though, but I know I technically have a conflict that night. So I just want to be totally transparent about that.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about? We're talking about making it after the election, right?
No,
Before
we're
the,
talking about having it before.
before the election.
For the,
If we go after the election,
Before the election and possibly before you open.
oh, okay,
things at
okay.
once.
So if it's before the election and then, so after the election, the following meeting would not be until May and everybody will be good. That gives them plenty of time for the swearing. in. All right, I'm on the same.
Right.
Okay,
so, you know, if the schools are opening the 8th,
5th.
5th,
Not that
Monday.
it's counting down, but
When are you meeting with
I mean,
who?
we-
Many hours?
the 5th of April?
yeah.
Laura, you're not available the 14th, so, I mean, it
Want this
doesn't have to be a Wednesday night, does it?
No.
Nope.
Statutorily or anything, so,
No. We used to meet Thursdays. 13th? Any day of the week.
yeah,
I can do the 13th.
Do the 13th.
yeah, 13. I'll make a
Yep.
motion to amend the April meeting from April 27th, to April 13th. or 28th rather, sorry.
Right. A second.
Discussion? Okay, all's in favor, say aye. Roll call. Amy,
Aye.
Jeff,
I,
Chris,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Okay. April
Aha,
thir-
we got you both for one more meeting.
April 13th.
We're expecting a party
Can we do?
We'll have to do it in person then.
Yep.
out on the
Okay.
plaza,
April
Yeah, we'll
13th.
go to the plaza outside.
right?
Be open.
BYOB.
Public by then.
We
Okay.
said the 15th on Thursday, right?
13th.
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 Tuesday.
The 13th of Tuesday. I'm kind of
Yes.
glad I asked. Okay.
All right.
And it's
Yeah.
outside at the new community space at the plaza.
Yeah. The next item is new business is the MOU. So that was sent around. And I saw in the packet there was these two different drafts of it. Draft 2 and the original. And
Which draft are they all your drafts, Catherine, or is one the Friends draft and one is yours, or?
Okay, so the original I sent to the Friends. And then the draft with the edits were the edits that the Friends made.
Okay.
And then so I gave you a copy of what those edits looked like with the edits are visible.
Mhm.
And then I cleaned it up as draft 2.
Okay. So draft original, draft edits, draft 2.
So
And-
draft 2 and draft with edits are the same thing.
Okay.
It's
One's
just
a-
that you're actually seeing the edits and then you're seeing a clean copy.
And this was
Okay.
your version, not theirs. Right.
It's by the draft with edits, it's both of ours, yes. Isn't it?
so well, draft 2 is something that you and the Friends as the director have said you agree with at least what they've written down and what you've changed. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that the Friends did their own section, but they didn't
Right.
do ours. And so they did theirs and then so where they made changes, I incorporated those.
Okay.
And then they had made suggestions for the trustees and I adjusted that based on any input I got.
So the one that's listed as draft 2 is the one that
That would be the
Draft two.
one we would approve. Wow, it's been a long time since I read it.
so I think draft 2 achieves what Cindy had talked about at the last meeting, is sort of a document that defines for new members what exactly the relationship is. I think what's in there is what we do today. It's harmless. I think it's a good summary of how the groups interact. I'm still not convinced MOU is the right vehicle, but the material in there I think is good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not. Let's do a couple things strike me as one is it says memorandum of understanding, but then the first line says the following constitutes an operating agreement. So it's one or the other.
Yeah, that's because it came from a template, so we didn't
Oh,
fix
okay.
that. So would you prefer it just be a procedure?
Well, to me, I would do something. I'd be more amenable to something called like a joint statement of interest or something like that, or a mutual statement of interest, or a joint mission statement or something like that, as opposed to a memorandum of understanding? Because I'm not sure.
Does
what
the term memorandum of understanding have a legal connotation?
That was my
that-
question.
I think it does. I mean,
on this?
I think it does. And like, what if someone doesn't uphold one of the provisions? I mean, what consequence what are the consequences of that? There's nothing in here that says there's any consequence, and so there may be none. And I don't know if it's enforceable, quite honestly. And I don't know. It's unusual to me, in my mind, that a public board would enter into an MOU with a nonprofit. It just seems odd to me. I've never seen that in all the public boards I've worked with. I've never seen that a public board would enter into an MOU with a nonprofit, even though I don't, I believe the friends are great and I believe in it. It's just unusual to me.
Well, I think our relationship is unusual, and that might be why. I mean, this is, it's
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely.
all over the country, they do it. Enough so that when I looked up the memorandum of understanding and how that is enforceable legally, it's not so much that it's enforceable legally in the way that you would think, but if something goes to court, it's given weight
Mhm.
that people have signed this, that it's a form of notice. It's
Just quickly reading the definition, what's in there, and it does say it can be a legally binding contract.
I think it's the can be that's what's significant, that when it comes to libraries, the precedent is that it's been enforced sort of like you've made this agreement. As Kevin said, there are no harsh punishments.
Two things that strike me about it that get me kind of stopping in my tracks. One is the next to last bullet, which says to act as, talking about the Friends, to act as enthusiastic advocates when provided with necessary information, but it doesn't say in what way they're acting as advocates. Are they doing it within the town? Are they doing it within the state? Or what are they doing it on? Are they going to bat for the library's budget? I think that is too vague to be enforceable in any way. And it doesn't give them really any direction.
Well, I think what it does is that it tells somebody who's joining the Friends that they're expected to act as an advocate.
But
Because
it doesn't tell them in
but
really.
I don't think it has to tell them how or why. It's just that you are an advocate. I think a lot of people join the Friends and they don't know about the advocacy aspect of it. In some ways, you don't have to do anything other than be enthusiastic and pay a membership. If we get you on a membership roll, your number counts. When, if I'm talking to a legislator and say we have 800 members that are Friends, that are
we wish.
putting their money where their mouth is, that would carry weight without them doing anything other than smiling enthusiastically. So I think the reason, I think it's probably broad because it was meant to be broad.
Well, there are other sections such as the second bullet, the fourth bullet, the last bullet. Those are all much more specific and give people an understanding of what that point is all about. And I think if you want to keep that number 7 in there, there really should be a little bit more in there. The other part that I had a problem with is number 4, that apart from the group's administrative expenses, have the Friends identified what their administrative expenses are? Because they don't break out their budget that way. They don't break out administrative expenses, other expenses. That's actually a question I asked of Helen, but I don't have an answer back from her.
Yeah, I did go through it with the treasurer the last time when they did the $10,000. When they were
George has a different way of looking at things though than other people do.
I know when we were
he's kind of quirky.
Legal. So when we were doing that $10,000 thing, that was the point I was trying to make to him, to find out how much money they had excess of what they were going to need, because I think administrative things might vary from year to year. If you have a particular fundraising goal. If you're going to do, if you're going to do a Blossoms and you want to put $10,000 into producing that you may not do
Right.
that every year. So I
And
think
if they ended up renting space, if they lost the ability to use the herd and ended up
Right.
renting a storefront in town, I would think they would then be including that as administrative expense, but I've
Right.
never seen them spell out their administrative expenses. I mean, it's a good thing to do, but I think that's something that the whole board needs to sit down and do, because as I said, George has a very different way of looking at things
right.
than other people do.
So I think if you were talking about it, with a new person, I think what's significant in the statement from the ALA's point of view is that the new person understands that the money being raised is to go to the library. That's what it's being raised for. So the idea that you hoard thousands of dollars, you have to have a good administrative reason for wanting to hoard that money. The Friends did hoard for a little while because I had encouraged it, and I saw that as an administrative expense because we knew they were losing the book sale, and I didn't want them to not have any money. So we didn't want to move it all to the library because we wanted them to be able to function as an organization. So money that actually under normal circumstances would have gone to the library became administrative.
Well, you use the term hoard, and I would have a lot of objection to that. There's nothing that I've known about in the state or federal laws that tells them that they can't have $25,000 in their bank account.
Right.
And there's nothing that says that they have to turn over, all but 5% of what they raise every year to whoever they may be raising it for. There are no numbers like that.
I think
So I think that gets really sticky.
I think there actually might be a limit to what they can have without transferring any to the library.
There's a dollar limit of how much nonprofits in certain categories should be having, but I don't know about the transfer amount.
To me, though, I mean, all this is like not our business, quite honestly. I mean, it's really up to the Friends of how much they want to give to us. It's nice if they give us 90% of what it is, but that's really how that's how they're going to operate their business. That's not really our concern. It's not my concern. I don't think it's our.
Well, I think
business.
I think it could be your concern.
It's not really. Why? They're a 501(c)(3). They have a completely different board. How they run their business is up to them. We don't have any. I don't think we have any say on we can't vote. We can't determine what they do or can't do.
But is there any concern if they're raising money on behalf of the library?
Yeah.
Or the library, but that, I'm thinking about it from, a PR standpoint, like if they are going out and having fundraisers and saying the money is going to be given to the library and people are donating or becoming members based on that, but then the money isn't. I'm not saying this is going to happen or has happened, but
yeah,
then they're not giving the money. I don't know what the nonprofit rules are around that, but what they're obligated to do. So
yeah, I don't disagree with the idea that they are, they formed a nonprofit to raise money to give to the library, but but they haven't. We don't have a role. We can't go to there and tell them open your books to us so we can look at them to see if you're giving us 90% or 80% or 50% of what you're raising, as opposed
I think you do have a role, Kevin.
We may have a role, but I don't think we have a right.
I don't think you've got a right.
I don't think we have a right to do that. I mean, we can ask, but I don't think we can. I don't think we can. We can request, but I don't think we can compel.
No, right.
No, but if your understanding is that the funds are being raised for the benefit of the library, and years go by and people are not giving any money to the benefit of the library because for whatever reason, if that's a reason that the Board of Trustees thinks is not legitimate, you would have this agreement that says, we agreed that the money is for the benefit of the library. We have a need. People donated based on potential need. You've got to move some of that along.
Then you go to the state's attorney general or the IRS, but the trustees would not have any power to force them to write a check. They could be investigated legally.
So when you go back to a memorandum of understanding, the point
Hello,
is,
Kitty.
oh, where that happened. The point of that is that the document is explaining to people who are getting involved that that's the goal, is to raise the money and give it to the library.
But that's already in their bylaws.
So if you're reiterating it in this, does it matter if we're saying that
I
No, I
don't
don't-
think it,
I
I don't think it still gives you power over them.
Yeah, I don't think it matters one way or the other.
I'm
I
just
don't-
too tired.
Because they are a 501c,
Let's go-
as Kevin says.
let's
They
go
are a
back-
self-governing organization.
Let's go back to the very beginning. Don't need that. The old time friends were resigning and new people were coming on board, and they had bylaws, but they really didn't have a statement that everybody could just go to and say, this is what the trustees do. This is what we can expect from the trustees. This is what the trustees expect of us. So I didn't have this idea to create this. This is a standard template that libraries all over the country use. So I submitted it to you to look at. I submitted it to them, to the friends, and people have played with it both ways. The things that people are objecting to are pretty much objecting to the idea of the document at all, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So if you decide you don't want to have it, that's fine too. And we just have the friends rely on their bylaws. But as the group changes over, it's been difficult for new people to get their footing because they don't really know, when you have people who have done the same thing for 30 years and have all kinds of institutional knowledge. If you have a document like this, when a new president comes in who has no experience and she's working with people who have 30 years of experience, a document like this gives you a starting point, like a way to get a grasp of what's expected. It's like, what's expected.
I think this is okay to have something, because just from when I was the first trustee and I went to a friends meeting, I didn't know what was happening. There were cookies, everyone was talking at once. I had no idea what was going on at all. It was difficult to see the rhythm, and I mean, they do so much. So I think something is okay. I think the second bullet says that they're going to support the library through annual donations. So they're definitely going to make donations every year. The amount, I would say it's up to them. But then again, one of the trustees goes to every meeting and can ask those questions. I don't know if, I haven't been to one recently, so I don't know if they present financials, but if they do, you have an opportunity to we would be able to know what has happened. That's the point, isn't it? That we would see what was going on and be able to contribute monthly anyway.
There is a treasurer statement every month.
So there would be someone from the library seeing that. And I mean, if I went and saw that at $50,000 and they gave us 100, I would ask a question there. And then, I mean, obviously there's going to be a liaison that meets with I don't think the money thing is an issue. I think they have to give the library something every year because they've put that in. So I'm not worried about that.
I'd almost want to see what the Friends mission statement is. Do they have a mission statement?
Yeah, I wonder if their mission statement or their bylaws maybe need reworking or taking a look
I mean,
at it a long time versus a
for
memo.
me, yeah, exactly, Amy.
Standing.
For me, part of that is, what's their mission statement? And do we review that? And my only other comment is, including the Friends, I mean, some of the trustees agree to, I'm more concerned about what we agree to as well. And we're including them in the long-term planning process.
Yeah,
Does that mean they have input?
yes,
Does that mean they have real input?
yes.
Or are you, when I go to a Friends meeting, I'm just kind of watching as Susan would say, the show.
Yeah.
Or is there someone from the Friends that's going to come into a library planning meeting or a trustee planning meeting for the program and derail what we want to do?
Well, they can't
I don't
vote.
think they can do that. They can come to any meeting. It's
Well,
open to the public anyway, so it's a public meeting.
The
But
plan,
if we're including them in future planning, they're non-voting, so it's just a voice that doesn't carry any weight.
right, the long-term planning process refers to the strategic plan. So the general public is invited to that. We take all,
Cross-section.
yeah, we take all
All voices.
to the long-term planning process. And the last one we did, Melissa Quinn participated, and she was a friend at the time, and she was participating. And Jeff did too, and he was a trustee, so we were like hitting all our bases. But yeah, you want friends, and actually the process of working on this document, the fact that they saw that I had put that in there. And I also included that I would show them the annual action plan every year. So that's something that they didn't know anything about necessarily. And the annual action plan would affect the kinds of things that they might want to fund. So it shows them the direction that we go in. So even if we don't use anything from this document at all, it's open to conversation that has helped us immeasurably find, what each of us should be doing to help the other person.
I think it also gives like a good two-way street. Like rather than us saying, you raise all the money, give us all the money, it's also saying we're going to give you, a voice at the table, not a vote, but a voice.
Right.
So it's it's an exchange of you get some input, you get some, as
Right.
opposed to just, hey, write us a check.
Right. That we're all working for the same thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this was sort of borne out because of the, changeover in the Friends after having been there for,
Right.
that longstanding board for 30 something years. There was some, then there was another board after that that sort of ended abruptly, and it seemed like there was some significant changeover rather quickly over, short period of time. And now we have a whole new board that's in there. And so there's a little bit of, stability, and rightly so. I mean, they're probably just trying to find their way as well to figure out, what's our mission, what's our relationship, and how can we, and I've got no problem with you, Catherine, meeting with the chair of the Friends and offering these documents and, giving them everything that they could possibly want or need in terms of, our strategic plan, our goals, our objectives. They're perfectly, or not perfectly aligned, but I'm sure they're very much aligned with their mission. And if there are areas of disagreement, then, they can come to a meeting, or we're going to go to theirs, and they're certainly welcome to ours. And, you would hope that would be worked out, that sort of way. But I do think that, this was maybe, and this I'm guessing was spurred by sort of the changeover, and they're kind of just looking. It's a good way to open the lines of communication. Well, at least it's forced us to do that with this particular board. But you know, I don't know, in terms of the document itself, you know, that I think there's some questions that were raised. It also there's no termination in the agreement too. This is the lawyer in me talking, you know, like it can't be, there's no, I want a termination provision. It says it can't be modified, but since it can't be terminated by one party or the other. So, you know, if for some reason we want to terminate or they want to terminate, they could just do that. So I don't know if there's, you know, I still think it's something that, you know, if you all still want to keep looking at, or maybe not call an MOU, but maybe rework it, reword it somehow, some way. That's something we can kind of continue doing for the next month's meeting.
Well, what I can do is go to the Friends meeting and ask them if they want to table it until they decide whether or not they think it's really, if they, you know, it may be that they find that the exercise of doing it cleared up enough questions so that it's not necessary to actually execute it.
Well, I'm not adverse to executing it, maybe not this meeting, but I also, you know, go back to what I said earlier. I'd love to see what their mission statement is.
Their bylaws are available through their website.
Okay, I'll look.
If you go to the About Us section or something, you can, you know, go down a screen or two and you'll find their bylaws.
Have they been reviewed at all lately, Cindy, or are they like?
They've made changes over time.
They reviewed all of that when they were looking at their section of this document.
Okay, and I'm just hoping that they would have, you know, maybe there's someone, Sandy, that, you know, can bring some of that to light too. I'm glad they looked at that, and that's information that I didn't have a minute ago.
Yeah. So all right. So then why don't we do this then? You'll be at the next meeting, Catherine, for the Friends. Talk to them. Why don't we table this for now? I thought it was, you know, there's some good information that came out of this discussion, I think, that you can take back to the Friends. And then if they still want something, then, you know, I would probably, at this point, you know, wait till the new board comes on board, and that can be discussed at that, you know, with the new board members to kind of get their thoughts on it.
Okay.
But that's just my thought. I mean, if we want to take a vote on it before then, that's fine too. We can take a vote on it on April 13th. We can do that as well. Because they're meeting on the 1st. So you'll have to talk to them on the 1st and see what their reaction is. But why don't we table it till the 13th for now? If that's agreeable to everyone, I'll take a motion on that if someone wants to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to continue it or table it till next meeting.
Okay. Second. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. All those say opposed say no. Amy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Anything else from anybody?
So for the next meeting, I'll get the bylaws and the mission statement and
Oh, perfect.
and ours too, and see
Yeah.
if that documentation is already just enough.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because
be
when
great.
we get new trustees, they get trustee packets of information. So it's possible that's what we should be creating for the Friends, as opposed to, you know, as opposed to something that says you're an enthusiastic supporter. They get a link to the MBLC and we say, here you go, go for it.
Yeah, well, I think it's also good too for as trustees though. So when we go to these meetings, we should really be, you know, engaged with that group and not that I'm not saying that we're not, but you know, it's a good reminder, I think, that, you know, when we do go to these meetings, to be engaged, to listen to their concerns, to bring them back to the board if they have concerns. And there's multiple ways of doing that, vis-a-vis through the trustees or through Catherine or through Jackie. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it's being done. I think, you know, it's a good reminder to me, at least, to kind of keep those lines of communication open. They're a good partner for us. They're a great partner. They've been a great partner. I think to a certain extent, we've kind of taken them, not for granted, but we just sort of relied on them because the same people have been there forever and ever and ever. And we just sort of expected that, you know, oh, it's, you know, we need, $12,000. We'll just go to the friends and just give it to us. And they typically did. So, but things have changed. And so I think it's a good reminder that, this is a good strategic partner that we rely on quite heavily. And, they're working on our behalf. And so we should give them as much, information or support as much as they give it to us. And, that's been done through Catherine and Jackie, I'm sure. And, but it's a good reminder for trustees as well, I think. So that would
Catherine,
be,
you have their bylaws as part of the trustees electronic packet that you're putting together? Okay. Good.
that'd be great. All right, that'd be great, Catherine. That's perfect. Okay, anything further from anybody?
I do have one thing that I found out, but I hesitate to even bring it up because I'm not positive about this. I suspect, and I have an email in to Joe Conway at the DPW, but from what I can tell, we did not get the carpet money. For
It wasn't in the newspaper. I was wondering about that.
No, we got $10,000 to investigate the front stairs, but we didn't get the carpet money. So I don't know. There is one little possibility that it's in the DPW budget, and I don't see it because Joe fully expected it. So, and it was approved the first round that got canceled. So I'll find out more about that.
How much was that for?
I broke it up into two sections. It was $60,000, but it was $40,000 for the main floor and 20 for the red and gold room. And the red and gold room are really okay, but the main floor is going to need it sooner or later. And the problem that we're going to run into is that next year we need a roof.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
that's what, 400,000 or something like that, or
I think it was
250?
250.
250, yeah. Okay.
250. And that's going to happen somehow with the DPW, from what I understand.
Yep.
So that won't go out to bid with the whole big amount. I think that's like a town-wide bid. We're in with all the other roofs. I think we'll find out more about that later. But we have other big projects. So if we don't get the carpet this year, it's going to be hard to get it in other years, because after the roof, we've got to do something about those front stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
some of that carpet is 24 years old, right?
at least.
The golden, have the golden red rooms been done since we opened? Okay, so those are 24 years old, 25 years old.
And the whole main floor is too. And the red and gold room are not quite as bad because they don't get the traffic. But the main floor is, the last time we had it cleaned, the cleaner said there's no backing on this. You're gonna really have to be careful because it's on its way out. It was an excellent quality carpet when they got it.
Right.
In fact, I did pick a carpet, and that was bid, and it all happened very fast. That Joe at DPW said, you can get the carpet this year, put in for it. And I picked something, it matched, it all happened, everybody was happy. And then Cheryl Scott came and I showed it to her, and her face just dropped. And I said, Cheryl, I'm not gonna get this, I'm not gonna get what you want with the money I have. So she actually went looking for something. She's gonna try to find something that's a little.
She told me the material that our carpet was made of is no longer available in this country.
Yeah, but that's why it did so well and it lasted so long. It was really high quality, because I've seen other carpets that are similar age and they don't look anything like that.
Yeah.
It is really a good one. But
if we don't get it through what the capital budget has been approved for, there's nothing that keeps us from raising it at town meeting and having the people vote it in. Bringing it to public's attention that the carpet that we're trying to replace is 25 years old, and we're talking about safety issues.
Yeah.
What's the
It
cost,
has been done.
Yeah.
the cost estimate again?
60/40.
So it's
40,
pretty
20,
much
40,
it's
20,
$40,000. So
But more has been
Okay.
approved for doing the roads or this or that, for other town departments. It's not
Yeah,
like
look-
and
let's-
the schools come asking for more than what all the other departments come back for, asking for every year. It's not out of the question that we advocate for ourselves and say, this is really very important. We've been having it on our budget. We've made the case for it. We were expecting to get it. The time is now. We have a very good case. So if Joe Conway says it's not there, May 11th town meeting might be the next time when we ask for it.
Was the warrant just approved this week at the town council meeting?
yes,
So is it too late to put it on the warrant anyway?
Doesn't have to be a warrant article.
Oh,
Can
Yeah,
be raised during the approval of
just
the capital budget.
yeah, you just object to it and they would vote on adding it.
Make a motion to add.
Motion to, motion to
Okay.
amend.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's
So,
find out. Yeah,
I'll-
once you find out, and let's see what our options are at that point.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out what the options are. Because you want to do everything as
In a
with
nice way.
as little, yeah, exactly.
A little making waves, but every now and then you have to make some
Yeah,
waves.
it's not really that it's making waves so much as, you just want to see if you can fit it in nicely the way everything, should work.
Yeah. I mean, if they asked for it, and they approved it, they should have put it in there and we should have gotten it. And the
Yeah.
consequences of not getting it is significant because now it's going to get pushed out,
Yeah,
several years, right?
I was-
Potentially. So
I was watching them do it and,
Yeah.
It's really hard when you see the other things that you're up against.
oh yeah, of course.
They've got $12 million worth of projects and 2 million to spend. And they're trying to find ways to do that. And in some cases, it's items that, affect children,
Yeah.
affect first responders. It's hard to make a case for your carpet. But on the other hand, deferred maintenance isn't always the best way to go either. And we're not talking about a roof, the expense of a roof. We're talking about a relatively small amount of money. So,
Right, that's next year.
yeah, next year is going to be the big, so we want to pave the way for being nice because we're going into the roof next year. Yeah.
we're gonna go into town meeting and ask for it, even a relatively small amount of money. I would want to go in already knowing, what are we looking to spend on the projector? What are we looking to spend on water fountains? What are we looking to spend on sort of those other little things? Because aren't we still kind of sitting on a lump of state aid?
Yeah, and I talked with
Money
FinCom.
we're sitting on
I talked with FinCom about that. And part of what's significant is that our operating budget does not cover everything it requires for us to operate. So it's the same operating budget that they've had forever. And we've just kind of morphed it to cover the things that libraries have become. But there is no line item for replacement furniture, for programming. I could probably get you a list of all the things that we do with the gift money is because we don't have line items for those things. So we occasionally get them in if we have a good utility year, which we won't this year because we lost all that water. So, when you have some flexibility in your budget, you make hay while the sun shines and get all of those things that you need. You need some new staff chairs, you need whatever, you do it then. But there are a lot of things that are not in the operating budget. And when you look at it, the bulk of it is personal services. And it's personal services and books. The expenses for all those other things, we are pretty thrifty. We are really pretty thrifty. So, and part of that is because we're blessed by gifts. So in order, and I'll say one more thing about the gifts. If you want to continue to get gifts, You don't want gift givers to see you spending their money on carpets.
Yeah, of course. That's not, that's part of, that's an obligation of the town.
Yeah.
To maintain the building. So, okay, well, we've got, we'll get more information from you, Catherine, about what happened, and then from there we can decide on what the best way to proceed is from there.
Right.
Okay, anything else from anybody?
Thank you, no.
No. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, the second.
Second.
All right, Laura. All those in favor say aye, all those opposed say no. Go around the room. Roll call, Amy,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Cindy,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned. Scott.